On the heels of the recent State of the Game news update, Relogic's Loki posted some remarks and answers to questions on the Terraria Discord, as well as on the official forums. Thanks to the folks who were there to corner him and pry some clarifications and information about Terraria's ongoing development out of him. And if you're not familiar with the Terraria Discord, I'll post a link to it in the video description below because, frankly, sometimes people ask me about it. But moving along to what Loki actually had to say, he began with, once everyone is at parity, 1.4.1, then we embark on that whole crossplay thing mentioned in State of the Game. Fingers crossed for that, gonna be a toughie. Crossplay between mobile devices, PC, Switch, Xbox, and PlayStation? Psh, piece of cake, piece of cake. Bree with a radio as a flail, never heard that one before, wrote, I had an idea for a new NPC. My idea is the Alchemist NPC. He sells potions. Loki's response to that was, we aren't focused on content at the moment. You are free to suggest, but no promises. Focus is parity, features, workshop, then crossplay portability. Beyond that, I cannot even fathom at this point. Lol. Members of the dev team, Redigit himself included, have remarked about having Terraria burnout. Clearly not enough burnout to stop them from pushing the game to its crossplay conclusion, if that turns out to be viable. But also, it's still enough to lead them into development on a new project rather than them adding any new major content to Terraria. So, they're seeing the game through to its end, but I think they're pretty much done with making Terraria bigger. Loki also wrote, once parity rolls out, everyone will be able to play with a gamepad, keyboard and mouse, and touch in the case of Switch and mobile. I assume keyboard and mouse works on Switch. I have not been given that info or a build to check yet. If it doesn't, mea culpa to Switch, I guess. And more on that later. Factions Dragon writes, so no real news about Journey's End for console yet? Loki's answer, what news do you want? It's in alpha, work on tweaking, polishing, bug fixing. Performance optimization is very much ongoing. I know it is cliched, but there isn't much else we can really say. So the work continues under the hood, basically. Spacecom Archer writes, any new features for multiplayer, such as improved game chat? Loki responded to that with, when we dive into crossplay, it will require a across-the-board examination of multiplayer, and I have no idea what all that will entail just yet. Next, 2 comments. The first, King of Nug wrote, I think State of the Game, referring to the January State of the Game, wasn't that good. And Factions Dragon also chimed in with, yeah, typically it gives more information. Well, Loki responded, I would say rather patiently to that with, if we had a date, we would give it. If we had a window, we would give it. Outside of that, all is going well. I'm not sure what other news to give. Now, I thought it was pretty good, really, not to white knight Relogic's efforts here, but they did announce mouse and keyboard support for consoles and mobile. They announced platform crossplay and cross saves, at least the attempt to do so. So it may not be as flashy as a video showing off a new feature, but it's still really impressive, so what's not to like? Spec writes, if cross save is coming, how does that work? Are you just able to import your worlds, or are your saves connected? And if you do something on one, will it happen to the other devices? Loki responded to that with, don't know those details yet, Spec. Step 1 is converting all sides to the same file format, which we should achieve by 1.4.1. After that, it's finding a system that allows for it. Easy on PC and mobile, not so easy when you involve Sony, Microsoft, and Nintendo's proprietary systems. We know what we want to see in practice, but all of those details to get there are murky, and the focus right now is still on 1.4, or Journey's End, for console. What remains is polished tweaking, such as work on the final user interface and a legacy user interface perhaps, feature testing, such as save pullovers, keyboard and mouse, etc., performance optimization, which has been needed on console for ages, and bug fixes. You rush those things at your own peril. Next, ED209 writes, so if Sony said no, would you still go ahead with Xbox? Loki's response was probably yes, and the same would apply to any other combination of scenarios. We would then hope that party that doesn't want to would later come to their senses. Surely Sony isn't going to say no, or Microsoft for that matter. I'd hope that they wouldn't, but only time will tell. Next, Pinhead Pat wrote, take your time, don't worry about it. Working on 4 ports is difficult, so having a lot of time to polish is good. Agreed. Loki sort of followed up from that comment with save files from 1.3 as well as from 1.2 era, just in case some of those folks are still around, are being tested. The idea is to get everyone onto the same save file format. Mobile and PC are already there. And next came the bad news for Switch Terrarians. Loki writes, in response to a comment from Pinhead Pat, Switch appears to be problematic. No mouse support that we can tell, so even if keyboard could work, well, of course Switch gets touch controls, so they cannot complain too much. I want to say I made a similar remark in my State of the Game news video. The Switch has that lovely touchscreen feature, and so Terrarians playing on Switch will at least have that, even if the mouse and keyboard thing doesn't work. Also, it's good to know that even someone as intimately acquainted with Terraria as Relogic's Loki sometimes has to dig up an answer for something he doesn't know. It makes me feel just a little less forgetful. But anyway, speaking of those Switch advantages, Twisted Mind wrote, can you add motion controls for us Switch players? Loki responded to that with, unsure to be honest. Might be something we will look into, but no promises, and almost certainly would not be there for Journey's End launch. We would likely have to hold things up on Switch for a time to develop, tweak, etc. such a thing. More so again because it doesn't exist on other platforms, so it's a build from scratch thing. And I cannot see us doing that. That's a pity. It would be kind of cool. That's a good suggestion, Twisted Mind. Anyway, moving along to Rock. Rock wrote, why don't the devs quit offloading their game to other companies and code it themselves to these other platforms? Bring this in-house and stop the madness. Loki had a long response to that. Loki wrote, because we have absolutely zero experience with console mobile development as of this time. Perhaps that is within that range of skills we will be working on, but that does not solve today. Couple that with the core Terraria not exactly being a super easy to port codebase. This isn't Unity, to put it mildly. And here we are. Meanwhile, we have an amazing team over at DR that has great ideas, experience with both, and has dramatically accelerated progress on those fronts in a way we haven't seen since console began. So yeah, we are going to give them the time they need to get it done. If we tried to just pull it in-house, as you suggest, then stage 1 would be a long wait while we ramp up skills, etc. on all of those external systems, etc. You will get a better product faster this way, even though it costs us more via this route than doing as you suggest. So yeah, as he said, Relogic is spending money to make this happen more quickly and probably more effectively. They reference DR Studios and the good work that they've done. They've certainly come across like real rock stars with the mobile development, and so far they've made fast progress getting the console Journey's End patch to alpha status. As Loki pointed out in one of his other comments that I didn't add in this video, they've made rapid progress across the 3 consoles in a relatively short amount of time. Mobile Journey's End only came out first because DR was assigned to work on it before they inherited the console work from Pipeworks Studios, so that's why there's a lag. It's not because they're slow workers or anything. And one thing's for sure, there's a lot of demand for more console development news. I can't deny that. I'm sure that was made apparent to Loki as well, so we'll see if he can deliver some juicy tidbits for console gamers in the February State of the Game update whenever that drops. And that's all that this video holds, so hope it was enough. Anyway, thanks for watching if you're still tuned in. Stay healthy everyone, and I'll see you in the next video.